Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the show. Once again, very unused to being in front of cameras, and slightly fewer in numbers this time, but welcome to ISDA Talks, this time with myself, Ike Sky, Slobodan, Malibacho, on the forums, Nikola, Nixmox, and Ondřej Kushar. I'm English, you know. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, Ike.
Good evening.
How are we all doing on this fine sunny evening, other than Ondřej, who seems to be living on the sun tonight?
Oh, it's very hot. It's tiring. I think we're in the middle of a heat wave which will last for I don't know how long, but it's exhausting. Luckily, air conditioning is working fine, so we can sit here for hours, as I'm concerned.
But as long as you can, you have to be sitting inside. Outside is basically a no-go.
Yeah, it's hot, and then mosquitoes flying, and it's unmanageable.
You have mosquitoes?
Yeah.
Oh.
You don't?
Oh no, we don't have mosquitoes here. The UK.
That's a new fun fact I will use for pub quizzes.
Oh yeah, no. No, the UK is absolutely wonderful as far as like venomous and poisonous creatures are concerned. We have none. We have one snake and one toad. The rest of the creatures here, the worst thing they do is bite you.
Well, good for you. I'm currently at 30 degrees without any air conditioning with open windows. So yeah, if I start clapping, it's because of the mosquitoes.
It's that, or if you start melting into your chair.
No, I got used to it. It's all fine.
Oh, okay. That's all right then. So a slightly more relaxed evening. Sorry, Ondřej, how is the temperature where you are?
It's good. It's like 28 degrees, so it's good.
It was 28 degrees in the UK last week, and I'm pretty sure every single person like melted. Just you couldn't go outside. I work in an air conditioned office, and when I came out, it was like walking into a steam room. The humidity and the heat was just awful.
Yeah, speaking of hot weather, we actually had our first ISDA meetup in Hungaroring last weekend, actually 2 weekends ago.
Yes.
There you see my man Ondřej. We met up at turn 11. So I hope there's more to come, because this is a great community that we are having here, and maybe like a big meetup. That would be amazing, because most of us are from Europe. So somewhere in Germany, France, that looks like a midway.
Oh, Nürburgring 24-hour ISDA meetup.
That's a good one, yeah.
Well, now I need to get my passport again, don't I? as if I needed a reason to leave this rock. So tonight's topics we have slightly less controversial than last week, only slightly. First of all, we're going to start off with racing hardware. It's a fairly controversial topic, depending on which brand you're loyal to. Nikola, Zach is Nixmox. Nixmox? That is right, isn't it?
Yes.
Your name on the forums always confuses the hell out of me, because it's just yeah, the capitalization.
Yeah. Just call me Nixie. It's fine.
Nixie.
Yeah.
We'll take that as well. Yeah, but hardware is something that is critical to your sim racing experience, and you can pay everything from £10 for your PS4 controller up to 10, 15, 20. The sky's the limit, really. I don't think any of our rigs here tonight are on the higher end of that scale. I dare say.
Yeah, a bit closer to to the 10,
To the-
10,
yes.
10 euros. Yeah, but I think we all have a good good collection of wheels and hardware in general. I mean, you can see Ondřej having what is it?
GT Omega.
Yeah, he has a sim rig. He has Fanatec, I believe, base.
Yes.
You can see one Fanatec wheel just behind him, the rim. Oh, and he even has a cover for his sim rig, with something I don't have. So the dust won't impact his lovely Fanatec toy.
Exactly.
The other side, I mean, I don't have much to offer.
Nope.
My sim thing is right here. My Thrustmaster T300 RS.
Uh-huh.
And basically my you can see that I'm in like an office chair. I have this big desk. My desk is my sim rig, so this wheel I just move it to here, like in the center of my desk, and put some big pillows behind my chair to keep it moving away. But I mean, it's cheap. It works. I mean, I live in a small apartment, so I don't really have space for a huge sim rig or huge triple screen setups and so some sort of expensive hardware.
Zach's not going to like me in a minute. Nikola, what is your rig? And
I'm also on CSL Elite PS4 together with Fanatec LC pedals, Trustmaster THA gear shifter, and eBay handbrake. No rig. I'm in a hall, let's say. So I don't need any pillows behind me because the hallway is quite small. But I can push off and it basically works. Also all movable and applicable on different areas, so I can move everything around for work and everything else. Although I did have Logitech before and a few other wheels.
I feel really bad because I probably have the most comprehensive rig of the lot of you. So I have a Logitech G29, which is an upgrade from the G27, which I had before, which only failed because I took it apart too many times. Logitech pedals, which have been disassembled and mounted to a GT Omega Classic wheel stand. The brake pedal has also now been modded to incorporate a load cell, and obviously got the Logitech shifter as well. The buttons of which don't work while they're plugged into the G29. Because, of course, they don't. Yeah. I've recently... I should have showed you pre-stream, actually, so I didn't have to completely reset my camera and everything. But I recently modified the GT Omega wheel stand so that rather than the bolts going in from the side, they now go in from the end. So the forces are all aligned, and it's stiffened the rig up massively, which means I now have no excuse for falling off the track in whatever race I end up getting into next.
Well, we will see that in 2 weeks' time at Monza. But now that you mentioned Logitech, I think a lot of people start off with Logitech. I mean, I, for one, started with Driving Force GT, and 2 years ago, actually, I was evaluating whether I should go with Thrustmaster or Fanatec. But due to me living outside European Union, the import taxes would be really high. The shipping tax would be very high, and then I found out that the cheapest variant, which is like CSL Elite without load cells, would cost like 800 euros, and that I was not prepared to do that. And luckily, while I was traveling, actually, in Brno, I found Trustmaster in one shopping mall for 300 euros. It was like heavily discounted, and I was like, yeah, I'll take it. And stuff it in the car and drive for another 600 kilometers home, because why not? But yeah, what I wanted to say, I think maybe all of us started with Logitech. And
No?
actually, Ondřej is, I think, fairly new to sim racing. In fact,
Ondřej's Mr. Moneybags. He started off with a Fanatec.
No, I started with the Thrustmaster T150 with the plastic pedals and so on. And actually, when I upgraded to the load cell from Fanatec, my brake pedal on the plastic one just broke off.
Yeah. Well, that's
The day I ordered it, they knew that they're being replaced, so they just gave up.
Just to give you.
Thrustmaster pedals are I think famous for breaking a little bit too much, so happens.
Just to show you how in bits my rig is at the moment. Huh?
No, I'm saying to Nikola, as he says, Thrustmaster are famous for breaking apart. I'm like, please no.
In the repair shop.
I have Thrustmaster pedals.
In the repair shop where I
Be
work.
gentle.
Yeah, in the repair shop where I work, we regularly get Thrustmaster wheels come through. Normally with some kind of internal power supply failure. Because they've just got they have if only you knew. Oh man, if only you knew. So the power supply is a fairly rudimentary DC to DC converter. And the way that they smooth the voltage is by having a dirty great big capacitor. I think it was something like a 300 millifarad, 300 microfarad capacitor, just bolted to the hanging off the side and then soldered into the board. It looks like a complete afterthought. Yeah. Not to make you feel bad about Thrustmaster. But just to give you an idea of how in bits my sim rig is at the moment, that's my brake pedal.
Do you push it with hand, when you...
Yeah. It's disability friendly, this one. But notice how I've taken a chunk out of it. If you've had Logitech pedals, so this normally has a bar through it, and it's still just as rigid. I was speaking to someone who's upgraded to one of the elite, more elite anyway, of the Fanatec pedals, and apparently the pedals themselves are the same quality as what I have now. So there's literally no point in me upgrading. Now that I've separated them so that they're permanently mounted to a base, there's no point in upgrading them at all. And even then, if I was going to, the only reason why I would is to put a hydraulic load cell onto the same pedal.
The pedals are quite a simple tech, so it's not very hard to upgrade to different kind of pressure sensors, oil, servos, and so on. So they're quite easy to mod. Doesn't matter if it's from Logitech, Thrustmaster, or Fanatec. They're all pretty much the same technology.
But these are metal, not plastic.
Yeah.
When the base is good, it's much easier to build on. Apologies for the random intrusion of the sun, by the way. Zach's in YouTube chat saying he doesn't play rallies or manual cars, only a very few times. Is it worth to buy a shifter? I mean, if you were me. And that, I think... I don't know. Let me get a round of the room's opinions. If you don't use manual cars much.
Well, if you ask me, the point of upgrading your gear is basically to enjoy the driving more. If you're somebody that likes driving manual cars, that drives all the rally cars, or like me drifting, manual is a must, especially if you drive it for the pleasure. You're never gonna be as fast with a manual shifter like you would with the pedals. But the pleasure of driving and the realism, yes, it's worth the upgrade.
I think actually, since Zach is from Morocco, if I remember, so I think he might be suffering from same symptoms as I do, not having like a regular store with sim gear. because in Serbia the best wheel you can get is perhaps T300 RS. You might find it somewhere, but boy, it costs a lot of money if you manage to find it. Otherwise, it's like, G29 is the maximum. Now the new what's it called? The new Logitech wheel, the G93.
Yeah.
93, yeah. So it's like the peak that you can get. Otherwise, you have to order it from somewhere or just bring it from somewhere. So, and of course, if you order it from somewhere, he also has to import it and pay taxes and pay all sorts of fees just to get it. So, if you have money to spare, Zach, go for it. If you have space for it, and if you'd like to have it. But I mean, otherwise, I would wait for like a better opportunity. That's my 2 cents from someone who's not living in EU.
Ondřej?
I think if you would want to try one or the other, I think the shifter would be a better choice, because you can then, if it's the Fanatec one, you can switch it to the sequential shifter and try to use it as a handbrake if you want to try a rally or something like that. So you can use it either as a shifter or as a handbrake. So I think you can. It's not that expensive. I think it costs us one better rim for Fanatec. So I think it's if you have a space where you can mount it on your rig, I think you could try it. Maybe the reason you don't drive the manual cars is because you don't have the shifter.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I am kind of with Ondřej. So there's a wonderful shop. There's a wonderful site called leobodnar.com. And he develops essentially interfaces. It's how I can change my G27 pedals to having a load cell, is because it changes the load cell output to essentially a 0 to 5 volts output, which is what the pedals understand. He also does a lot of other interpretation things, one of which is taking both the shifter and the pedal outputs from a Logitech wheel and converting them to a USB device, a dedicated USB device. So, while I understand the argument that the Mali's putting forth of it being very much cost preventative being outside the EU, I also highly recommend at least having a go if you know someone who's got a manual shifter, or if you drive a manual car in real life and you enjoy driving a manual car in real life with a normal H-pattern shifter. You have to give it a shot. Do it in the cheapest way you possibly can, but definitely give it a shot. When I started driving in Dirt Rally 2 was the only time I started using my shifter. And that's because it's so much quicker to have one hand on the steering wheel and one hand on a shifter. You can go lock to lock so easy, and if you're going around Monaco, or if you're doing some of the snowy stages, you need to be able to do that lock to lock. Otherwise, you're going to end up in a bank somewhere. And add to that the further development that I did, because I was using an elastic band across the shifter to turn it into sequential. If you can get hold of a G25 shifter, then they actually have a dedicated switch to switch between H-pattern and sequential, which is astonishingly good. If you can get hold of a Logitech G25 shifter, get onto Leo Bodnar and have it as its own USB device, you are set. You have there is no reason to ever do anything else. And you'll have a really good time at the same time.
Is it good as a handbrake though?
Right. So
like when you put a sequential so that you can, pull it backwards. Is it okayish?
yes, it's okayish. So what I did when I first started rallying is I had the sequential shift up and down, and because all it was an elastic band which was basically twisted over so that it kind of centralized a bit better, I used what would be 6th gear on the H pattern as the handbrake, which was useful because you could go change down, handbrake, get back on the throttle, and then change down again if you needed to. That worked for a while, but I then discovered that I could assign it to the right paddle. And obviously when you're using the sequential shifter, the paddles go completely unused. So now I can hold the handbrake and shift down and brake at the same time. Because that's what you do in rallying. You need to have so many inputs, and yeah.
Yeah, but you have a disadvantage with the pedals. With pedals as handbrake, because if you go to the, for example, if you have it on the right one and you go to the left-hand turn and you're using your right hand to left hand.
I understand what you mean.
Yeah, basically what I run into, the problem was I didn't have the position on the wheel to use the handbrake.
Yeah. I found that about twice. And to be perfectly honest, I was pulling the handbrake to try and save myself. So, as long as...
That's when you need the handbrake the most.
No, that's when you need the brake the most. And that's on a foot pedal, that's fine. I've tried to save myself twice with a handbrake. Or no, I've run out of steering lock with the handbrake twice. And it was always going to be a long shot if I was going to save it. The only other thing that I would say when it comes to track driving is that the way that Assetto Corsa specifically handles some of their cars, you would be quicker with a H pattern. Using the clutch and the H pattern would be quicker than using the paddles in AC's simulated manual mode. That's my only other argument that I can think of.
I don't think that's true with drove DTMs.
Yeah.
It's much faster just to pedal shift it. You can always override the clutch if you need it, but it's much faster.
Do you mean classic
DTMs? Yeah.
Okay.
It's always much faster to just pedal shift everything.
Really?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Did you not watch me commentate, Ike?
Say again?
Did you not watch me commentate on that particular championship? It's the one that I did in our language.
What, the one that you did in English, or the one that you did that I would never understand? No, that was the DTMs. Those ones, right? Okay, yeah. I'm with you. Yeah, no, I did watch a bit of that, but
also I would recommend to everybody as a semi-rally driver and a drifter to always keep the handbrake separate away from your steering wheel, because sometimes you need to turn more while still holding the handbrake, and then you always go first, press the clutch, use the handbrake, put it in a slide, and then you shift gears. So you can make a pause between shifting, pulling the handbrake and shifting gears. I usually, when I didn't have my handbrake, I usually put the keyboard between my steering wheel and my gear shifter. So even that pull, that motion is actually the hand needs to go quite far away, so it simulates that time that you actually need to pull the real handbrake. So the thing is about the H pattern shifter and the handbrake is to get the proper tempo out of it. If you do everything too fast, you're gonna mess it up, and the car is not gonna react properly.
Yeah.
Actually, I can show my. Wait, I have also everything quite mobile. So this is the handbrake is cheap eBay one, like you said, just Arduino chip on USB. And the same with Trustmaster TH8. You can also you get 2 plates. So one is a manual H pattern, the other one has sequential shifter on it, and the sequential you can also use as handbrake. It works.
The sequential layout gives you like a very small travel, right?
Yeah, you just click forward or click backward, and that's it.
Yeah, it's not like you have to pull it and then it clicks. It's like this.
No. It's like the real car. You don't really travel far. You just click and click. So nothing too much.
Yeah, they're What's the answer for Zach then?
I think we all we can all agree to what Ondřej said, and so maybe you buy it and then you will start loving it. That's also but also my advice: don't stress it too much if you can't afford it right now, if it's too much expensive, because I know the struggle.
I have had a cat invasion.
You're completely taking the focus out of me.
Yes, I'm very sorry.
Basically, if you join driving, do it.
Yeah. I've had so many good times. With even in the sim rig with a manual shifter. Things like, and it's stupid. The like GT40s, the really old cars that are absolutely stupid, and you're spending the entire time hanging on for dear life. There's nothing can beat that.
A fun thing I should say is that you have some sort of a sim rig, Ike. Yeah. Let's call it that way, with the seat and everything. But I think you spend the least time here actually racing. Yeah, because there are guys who are pushing you to commentate on some races. I mean, if they gave you some free time, you would definitely have more time to race, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, at the moment, well, I just had to turn down an organisation who wanted me to commentate 11 rounds in 12 weeks of Formula 1. I was like, 1, it's F1, it's not a real sim, and 2, no.
That's an opinion that I like, and that we need to talk about it.
Do we?
Yes.
Do we need to talk about?
I mean, it is an opinion. I agree with you. It's too much simcadish, but were it not for F1, I think I would never be a sim racer.
Really?
Because I started off in F1 because I was you can see, an F1 fan, and I've been playing Codemasters F1 games since I think the first one, and sometime in 2018-19, I decided to call it quits. I was even a beta tester for 2019 game.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, I decided to call it quits. I thought that the amount of arcade in that game was too much for me, and I needed a new challenge. And luckily, Assetto Corsa Competizione was just entering the market, and then I fell in love. But if I was to start sim racing now, I doubt that I would find any joy in ACC.
That's an interesting. Okay. See, I've not had any love for the Formula 1 games since Formula 1 98. Because, well, to be fair, after that, I learned how to drive the cars. So, I didn't care after that. And I was driving real cars after that as well. So, given the choice of practicing to drive real cars and driving a Formula 1 car on a PS1 controller, getting all of my consoles mixed up, I'm going to go and drive a real car, please and thank you. The only reason why I got back into sim racing was actually through Project Cars, which I didn't know any of the history about it. I just picked up this game and thought, this feels so much better than I've ever had with any other driving game, and that was on controller. And then I got a G27 off my friend for 70 quid. Set it up on my desk and was like, oh my goodness, the feedback. Oh, this is so cool. And that's where the sim racing bug began properly. So I've not had any love for Formula 1 games for a long time. And even in this conversation that I just had, I said to them, look, you can either play the F1 2021 game, or you can get the Formula RSS hybrid, the Formula hybrid from RSS for Assetto Corsa, and you'll have a way more immersive and way more realistic experience. And it's free for a game that also looks better than F1 2020/2021. The games don't offer anything to anyone who's remotely invested in sim racing. To me, from my very closeted opinion. Bear in mind that one of my work colleagues entered a league in F1 2020, jumped into ACC. ACC or R Factor 2, and was thoroughly unimpressed with it because he was really slow and didn't understand why. It's like, because it's an arcade game. It handholds you. So, yeah, that's why I have my perspective.
Yeah, the thing with ACC, also with Project Cars, is you need a setup to win. I mean, let's not lie to each other. You need a good setup to for your car to be fast, so that you can attack more. You can do all sorts of stuff. And I actually did one competitive season with Project Cars 2. It's when I actually started learning about setups. I mean, for me, before, setups were what I read in description in Formula 1 games. So camber in, camber out, does this and does that, and that's about it.
Yeah.
But then you come to Project Cars 2, you have dampers, you have camber toe, caster, aero, ride height, all sorts of stuff that actually affect your car, the stability, the speed that you have. And I did myself no favor. I drove Ferrari, which was too snappy and out of control. But then I actually had to start learning about setups. And this is where I would like to call out Yorkie, Yorkie065. You know that he made a lot of setup videos, and basically it's like a video course. So this is what slip differential does, this is what this does, this is what that does. But for a newbie, it's so overwhelming, the amount of options that you have. So I don't know how many people start off with Project Cars or ACC and that actually can succeed in it.
Yeah, I understand.
Well, in a really competitive atmosphere.
I don't think that that ACC is a super competitive environment. I think if you get into leagues, especially if you to make the AOR connection, there are so many tiers and so many levels of skill that even if you go on there with a controller, you're going to have someone to fight against. And as John Hindolf always says, you only need 2 cars to make a race. So as long as you've got someone to drive with, it doesn't really matter after that. Yeah. Opinions from the bottom set of people that have been really quiet?
Well, I started a long time ago. I see what games like F1 have to offer to people, and that's primarily for the fans of F1 to actually introduce them to sim racing. But for beginners, if you want to learn the lower class, you basically start, the better fun you're gonna have, and more you're gonna learn. So you basically need to start by learning the physics of the car before you go to aerodynamics and really stiff stuff. For the setups, again, I rather start slow than then overwhelm people with some setups like ACC and so on. So I believe for ACC the aggressive press is quite good. It won't bring you to the first place, but it will bring you to the top 5 for sure. So. By the way, I started with Gran Turismo, PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2.
That's the
and
correct
then
answer.
To Forza and Life for Speed, and later came everything else.
Yep.
But yeah.
Gran Turismo is an awesome game. So good.
Comparing to now, it was very arcadey, but for that time, it was a proper sim back then.
Yeah. Yeah, but they need to have it relatively arcadey to be able to leave it approachable. Because you have to remember that while we have full steering wheels, they have this.
Yeah.
They have from here to here for full lock. There's not a lot of resolution there.
Well, for Gran Turismo, they also are trying to get much more people playing, and the amount of people that actually want a complete realism is not that big. So I guess for young kids and teenagers, you need to start somewhere. So I'm not bashing at any kind of SimCady game. You basically need to start somewhere. If it gets you interested later in life for something more serious like AC, and then that turns out into a hobby, it comes in really nicely. Beginner's sim.
Yes. Make no mistake, I'm not bashing Formula 1. I absolutely understand their place in the hierarchy of things. And I think that Codemasters know what they're going for as well. I absolutely have faith that Codemasters are building the game that they want for the sector that they want. It's just I'm not there anymore. I'm not in that sector. And that's fine. I just knowing what there is out there and then having people try and say that F1 is the ultimate in realism, that's where my brain just sort of goes, no.
Yeah, I think we all would agree on that one. I mean, it's like we matured, we grew up, and we went on. But for me, even though I left Formula One with like sour taste in my mouth, I still sort of thankful for Codemasters because it really got me in. And make no mistake, my first competitive online racing season was with Formula One. It was not with ACC or Project Cars 2 or Assetto Corsa or something like that. No, it was Formula One because I understood it just enough so that I can try and I can push and I can race with other people, and the rest is history.
Yeah. I have to love Codemasters. I have to have a lot of loyalty to Codemasters as well, because not only did they bring out the British Touring Car Championship games, they also brought out TOCA Race Driver, which was an introduction to so many other genres of motorsport, as well as the Colin McRae rallies, which became Dirt. Like it's they've done a lot. Say what you like about individual games, but their actual catalogue of games is far and above average for a sim developer. Let's say let's call them a sim racing developer. They really did outdo themselves. They really have done really well over the years. It's only been in the past couple of years that they've really dropped the ball, and dropped it again by joining up with EA.
Yeah, that's
well, money on the world.
Just one more thing to add. They're exclusive with Formula One. They're exclusive, would call it exclusive with Rally.
Mm-hmm.
So in a lot of branches of motorsport, they're like the go-to developer.
Yeah.
I would really love that Kunos brings out AC2 with Formula One full support, with Rally full support, something like that, but I doubt it's going to happen. Or also Project Cars 4 or whatever. I mean, Project Cars 3, yes, I would agree. It's been a miss.
Yeah.
And I didn't try it. I don't want to try it. The second part is, I think, the critical one. But then again, maybe we are not the target audience, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I have a lot to say on the subject of Project Cars 3. I will bite my tongue for the most part, but what you said is pretty much spot on. If you want to know my opinion, look up Ermin Hadankovic, whatever his name is. His video
Ermin Hamidovic.
That's the one. Hamidovic.
Yeah, I think he's Bosnian by origin, but he's Australian.
Yeah. We look up his video on the subject because he articulated when you look at the game, you can tell that the Madness engine is still under there, working away to deliver as much realism as it can. The developers are still there, it's just someone went completely left field and was like, it's an arcade game now, so let's optimize it for controllers. Why? It makes no sense.
Was it with Project Cars 2? There was like a myth that controllers are BOP.
You're thinking of ACC.
No. It was either Formula 1 or PC2. This is what I heard way before ACC was out.
Formula 1 was always quickest with controller. But that was because that's what it was optimized for. Project Cars 2 was, you were nowhere. The controller support on Project Cars 2 was legendarily bad. ACC, when it came out, was broken. I remember getting so salty in Discord at, I think, funnily enough, it was Black Goldsaw, who I now commentate over again, who used a controller at Paul Ricard and beat people with full Fanatec rigs by, I think it was between 5 and 10 seconds at the end of the race, and I was so salty. But
on the other hand, we really have to congratulate Black also because he's a legend.
Oh, he is. Oh no. My salt was because he was a relatively unknown.
Yeah,
name.
because of the controller support of the game. But I mean, he actually has the courage to not buy a wheel and smash everyone with a controller. That's amazing.
Yeah, Paprika is right. ACC had a real rough start. Yeah. Speaking of, I think I said this before. Kunos, fix the 650S.
Why do you have a mad face when you say that?
Because the 650S is broken.
Is it fixed now?
No.
You just said they fixed it.
No. I say Kunos, fix it, not fixed it.
You're urging them.
Yeah, there was a period in between there. Or please fix it. I'm pretty sure they gave up on the car and started before they updated the tire model and started working on the new cars. So it's kind of just grandfathered in, and it's awful. It's so bad. And the 650S deserves so much better than that because it's such a pretty car. And it's so fast as well. When you get the setup right, it is so fast. It's just fast for 5 hours.
Sadly though, I think that maybe they didn't give up, but they don't have a reason maybe to fix it, because as much events as we are running, those weekly events that occur on Mondays or Thursdays, or sometimes Saturdays, we have this game we play Among Us. So basically, because we're all in Discord and we're all having a laugh and we're all yelling at each other when we are passing. And we have this game that we play before we start the race. We pick cars for each other and we go like in circles. So I pick a car for you, you pick a car for Ondřej picks a car for Nix, and Nix picks a car for me, let's say. And I always like for someone to pick 2015, 2014, or like the older cars.
Yeah.
But nobody actually likes them. The only car that I could say people like is the Aston V12 from the old cars, and the other ones, no. So you have old Porsche, you have old Bentley, you have, what was it?
Pretty
now Ferrari has an old version.
Did the 458 make it in?
No. 488.
No, it did.
Yeah. No, 488 only. 488, and now we have a 488 Evo.
That's so rude.
Because you just feel they're a bit older cars. You just feel like they stopped development on it, and they're just not competitive with anything else. Also, we drove the V12 Aston, and when I'm driving it, I feel like you're getting much less force feedback out of it, and the handling is a bit different than all the other cars. So that's a bit weird. I feel they're just developing the newer models, and because that is what people are driving.
Idea for next week's fun race: 2018 cars only.
Actually, 2018 cars
2018?
plus are considered new cars. So you mean older?
I meant older,
ones? Yeah. We have an event next week organized by Ondřej here. So Ondřej, would you like?
It's the one from the suggestion box, actually. It's Aston V12 on Monza.
Ooh.
45 minutes with one mandatory pit stop. And it's meant to be driven in the dark till dawn. Is it dawn or is it dusk in the beginning of the day?
Dawn is in the beginning.
Yeah, until dawn. So we'll see how it will go. But I think only just hearing the cars passing by would be awesome.
I just had a really silly thought. Why don't I set up my PC to broadcast and use the auto broadcasting feature on ACC Broadcaster? No voice or anything. I'll just broadcast the race and I'll just listen to the V12s.
Or you can come and drive.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe.
It's a great introduction to prepare yourself for 8-hour race.
No, I've already been practicing that. I said about the GT4s being entered, and there was a little bit of intrigue in the team, and then a couple of drivers actually got behind the wheel of like the 570S and the Ginetta and things like that. Like, this is really fun. Why would you do GT3 racing at all? This is so much more fun. And then they sorry.
Carry on, please.
And then they got in the Chevrolet and was like, "What the heck is this?"
It was supposed to be a DLC for Euro Truck Simulator, but ended up in ACC, I think. That's my description of that car.
The way that you drive the Chevrolet... Actually, Nikola would probably like it, because the way you're supposed to drive it is to back it into every corner. That's how the car is supposed to be driven.
You see that smile, you see that his eyes are glowing.
Drift tank. Kiki gets it.
It likes to be manhandled.
It does.
And then jumping over the bumps and the crest and the apexes. So you need to be really aggressive with it and just don't even care.
The furthest it goes is 30 degrees, and then it stops. It just holds at 30 degrees.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful car. I love it to bits. I love it so much. It's so uncompetitive, but it's so good.
Yeah, we actually tried it 2 weeks ago, I think, at Laguna Seca with all Camaro grid. And it was also screaming like hell, but I personally lack that feeling in the steering wheel, that feedback. It's horrendous.
Right. Let's very quickly do, because we've spoken about the hardware that we have. What's everybody thinking about the hardware that's on the market at the moment? I've just noticed the time. We've been rattling on about all sorts of subjects for about 20 minutes now. It's great. Hey, Brooker. So the hardware market is in a bit of an uproar at the moment. I will get all of your opinions because I have a fairly firm one on the state of the market. Put it that way. If you guys are keeping track of it.
Well, I saw the one came out, but I mean 0.5 or whatever it is. But it's a nice introduction for a cheaper price to get into direct drive wheels. If somebody can afford it, sure, why not? It's a nice thing to have. Although I did not check the reviews yet, how it handles and how it behaves. The one thing I don't like that they separated power supplies to get more or less torque out of it. I think it just should have been set up to the maximum, and that's basically it.
Fair enough. Ondřej?
Yeah, I think that the introduction from Fanatec for the direct drive wheel should give the rest of the market some kind of push or some kind of wake-up call. Because basically, if you would want to get a direct drive, you would have to spend like 800 euros for the base. If you would want just some not the known brands, but not Fanatec, because that was 1,000 euros. But there are some other direct drive wheel bases that you could get for 800. But now you have the chance to try and test the crispiness of the force feedback that direct drives offers, and you could then just make a bigger decision to go even deeper to the DD2 or something like that. But yeah, it's really nice that I think should have been done sooner, but it's really nice to see finally someone deciding to do it, and now we will see if the other manufacturers will do something similar.
We could see you struggling with your English a bit there. That was very well articulated, I'll say that much.
Struggling a bit, yeah.
No, you're fine. I would add a thing or two. Yes, I would agree with Ondřej that this is long overdue. On the other hand, they present it like a cheap alternative, but in fact, I don't think it's cheap at all, because the new base is like 350 euros. But then you have to add pedals, you have to add rim, you maybe have to add some other bits to it, and then you end up with like 800 euros. So this is something that you could get. This is a range that you could consider maybe something else. But not talking only about Fanatec, I would also like to talk about Thrustmaster. I don't know if you saw it, but they have this new rim that's a replica of Ferrari Formula 1 car, and I love it. I love to have a lot of buttons on my steering wheel that I can, change brake bias, change ECU map, change traction control, upshift, downshift, flash, wiper, and a lot of wheels don't give you that. Even a lot of Fanatec wheel rims don't give you that. And this is something that I like with Thrustmaster, and honestly, I would really like to have that wheel. But then they give you this. Then they give you a load cell pedals. They released them like 2 years ago, maybe. And then they go out and make a new TGT wheel, which is a licensed wheel for Gran Turismo. So it's all toyish and blank, I don't understand what what this is supposed to mean, but I'm really rooting for a Thrustmaster direct drive wheel, to tackle Fanatec, and not give Fanatec the monopoly that they, I assume, want more than anything.
Yeah. I have a rather polarizing opinion on this. I know it's shocking, right? Me having a controversial opinion. That never happens.
Yeah.
I think that there is
Sorry, should I practice my surprise face?
No, you won't need to. I think that with the release of the CSL DD, there is now no point to buying any wheel other than that or a Logitech wheel. By the time you're spending the money on any kind of Thrustmaster, you may as well buy the CSL.
That's, of course, depending on how good the CSL is.
It's good. It's really good.
I mean, I guess any direct drive wheel beats any belt or gear driven wheel.
It's not just that. They actually used a revision on technology and are using essentially what amounts to a very comprehensive 3-phase motor to actually give the feedback. So whereas with most wheels you have the commutator and stator you have the commutators on the inside and you have a permanent magnet on the outside. I'm going to get very technical for a second. What they've done is they've put, I think it's somewhere close to 30 poles around the outside and a permanent magnet actually on the inside. What that means, it doesn't change much, but what it means is that they can apply varying voltages to each of the coils depending on how much force and how far round the force needs to be. And they can also reinforce and make the bearings super strong without impacting the magnetic forces. Like, they don't have to worry about the center anymore. So it is apparently it is smoother than the DD1, and 8 Newton meters is more than enough power to give you all of the feedback you need for most driving. There are exceptions. Rallying is one of them. But I actually have a... Screw it, we're on YouTube. I have a challenge for those of you who have a CSL DD. I have looked into it, and there is no plausible reason why... Essentially, the only difference... even though it uses a 4-pin connector, the only difference between the 5 Newton meter and the 8 Newton meter power supply is one is bigger than the other. Coming back to Nikola's point very quickly, the reason why they did that is because the 5 Newton meter gives you a taste, and the 8 Newton meter is the next logical step without having to necessarily upgrade your entire wheel. Now, because we now know that the only thing that's supplied through those pins is DC voltage, what happens if you put an even more powerful power supply, say a power supply that can deliver up to 600 watts, for example? What if you plug that in? Will it drive it to the Newton meterage that power supply can put out? I really want to know that, because theoretically, you then never have to upgrade your wheel. You just get a bigger power supply. And you don't have to, because it's only voltage being supplied, you don't need to use Fanatec's power supply. So, yeah.
That shouldn't be a big problem to hack, except if they have a command chip between the PSU and the wheel to control it, which is easy to overpass. But it could be locked to 8 Newton meters, or recommended to 8 Newton meters, just to get the clarity of the signal. But yeah, I don't see the reason why, if you understand the electronics a little bit, just to up your PSU outage and get your maximum Newton meters out of it. Because if I'm not mistaken, upgrading it to 8 Newton meters costs again about €150. Coming back to 800 euros, you can basically start looking at used DD1s or DD2s even, or combination of both. So there's no reason to put the price that high.
Yeah, but again, what the thing is that Fanatec isn't competing with Thrustmaster. They're trying to compete with Simucube, and they're trying to undermine Simucube. And all of these lesser known direct drive manufacturers, they're trying to price them out of the market. That's what they're going for. They've got no interest in Thrustmaster whatsoever, because Thrustmaster has such a diverse business. I mean, I've got a Thrustmaster HOTAS sat somewhere around. Thank you, Mally. Correct answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I've got as well. So,
what do you use it for?
Elite Dangerous.
Elite Dangerous.
Most of the time. I don't have any terrestrial flight simulators at the moment. But Thrustmaster have such a diverse product stack that there's no point in Fanatec going after them, because they'll just say, okay, well, you've done that, we'll just develop and release a better HOTAS, or a better mouse, or a better keyboard, or a better this, that, and the other. They're not reliant on their sim rigs. Whereas people who develop these dedicated sim rigs, these dedicated direct drive wheels and the encoders that go with them, etc., that's what Fanatec's trying to price out. And they've done it. Big time. And it means that unless you're buying a Logitech wheel, you look at the price of the Fanatec and you price the wheel on top of that, you've got a €450 wheel set, which is fine, but you never have to replace that wheel if you upgrade to another Fanatec wheel. It's like Apple. They're getting in at the semi-base level. They're getting in when people don't have much to spend on their sim racing, and then they just stay there. Because, well, I've already got the wheel, I've already got the pedals, I invested in the shifter after a couple of years, so I may as well just get the bigger direct drive module.
Yeah.
So that's why everything is how it is around the CSL-DD. That said, I still really want one. I really, really want one.
Everybody does.
Well, because of the genetic disorder I have, I'm not going to be able to have a 20 or 30 Newton meter wheel, because it will pull my arms out of their sockets. So 8 Newton meters is all I will ever need. And if I do need any more, I'll just start hacking and experimenting, because it'll be fun as well. And I get to indulge electronics, which is one of my passions, and sim racing, which is another of my passions.
Well, I think 6 or 8 Newton meters, so CSL Elite or DD1 CSL, it's. I don't drive my CSL on 100%, and I'm famous to keep my steering wheel quite harsh and on quite high force feedback. But even 6 Newton meters, it's quite a lot, and it's enough to break your fingers off.
Yeah.
So I don't see the reason to have it at 30 Newton meters and so on. That's just the max spec of it. Like I said, the advantage of being able to reproduce that is just the control that you have over lower force feedback. But nobody normal is going to drive 2 hour stint with 10, 15 or 20 Newton meters of torque. It just after that you need about 3 days rest for your muscles and everything else.
Yeah, pretty much. What's Brooker said?
Yeah, basically a bad experience with replacement and tech support. But I've been reading Reddit and also Fanatec. Both Fanatec and Thrustmaster are like, I wouldn't call it notorious, but not the guys you would like to handle with. So maybe they should devote more resources in fixing that. But I think it's like sadly, it's become normal.
Yeah, actually, I was also reading lots of the forum on Fanatec before buying the base, the wheelbase, and there are tons of people just that they didn't hear from the tech support in like weeks, and they kept calling, they kept writing, and nothing. Only maybe sometime they would get only generic reply, just that they are working on stuff and so on. And it was actually in the time when the pandemic hit. It was in the beginnings of it, and I think that's when the sim racing started to boom, actually, a bit, because lots of people were stuck home and they didn't know what to do, so they bought Simric and stuff for racing, just to have some fun, to kill some time. And they were really backlogged with lots of orders and so on. So yeah, lots of negative comments, but I'm lucky that I live close Germany, just basically neighbors. So when I ordered the wheel, the base and the wheel, I had the wheel before. When I ordered the base, it was like 4 days, and it arrived. And there were people that were waiting for weeks for this stuff and so on. But it also probably depends on the location, because all people of all around the world are buying from Fanatec, actually.
Yeah. Customer service is always a difficult thing to police, because it depends on the people you're dealing with and how good or bad a day they're having.
Yeah, and basically that's where I have positive experience with Trustmaster, because when I had the plastic pedals, the spring in them broke like 2 or 3 times already. So I just wrote that I need some new springs, and they just, yeah, okay, just pay us the money and we will send it to you for like €6 and so or something like that. And they just sent an envelope with a couple of springs, and
Nice.
I just installed them myself. It was not that difficult, because it's all plastic and so on.
Yeah.
So only positive stuff for Thrustmaster for me, because I didn't have to deal with the other yet. Maybe.
All of the fingers crossed. Okay, this is the bit where I get to take a bit of a back seat then. Because, gentlemen, what is coming up in the world of the International Sim Drivers Association? What do all of the community have to look forward to in the next, say, weeks and months?
Yes, so we already have announced, and we are actively promoting the 8 Hour of Monza race, which we will have on 28th of August, which is a bit more than 2 weeks away from now. Although Quali is next weekend on 22nd of August on Sunday, so don't miss it out. Apart from that, we are soon going to announce, maybe in a matter of next week, we will announce our next GT3 season, our second GT3 season, and the 4th season overall. We are very excited because we are finally, the summer is coming to an end. Sadly for some, but also we are ready to to close it off and to get into this second part of the year, or actually third part of the year, where we are going to offer a whole new season to our people, to our fans, our drivers. Apart from that, yeah, we're expecting some refurbishments on the dashboard, so that you guys, drivers, but also stewards and the crew, can have an easier access, can be able to search for data, monitor the data, change stuff more easier. And yeah, we are still looking into other racing platforms. So far, we had some interest for race room. We had some interest for Automobilista, but still we don't have sufficient interest to like organize a full-time season. Other than that, we are still racing on Mondays every week. You heard Ondřej. Next Monday we are racing Astons at Monza, so do come and check us out. And yeah, we are looking to expand our stewarding crew to be able to give even better live stewarding to our members, which every driver likes. Every driver likes until they get penalized, and then in fact, I had actually more encounters where people were satisfied by their by the fact that it was investigated live and that it was penalized. So kudos to all our drivers. We can't wait to see you guys back on track really soon. It should start like early September, mid-September, something like that, depending on how fast we progress from now.
100%. And in the world
And we are looking to retain Eike as our lead commentator, depending on Ike's availability.
If the quality of racing is as good as it was last season, then there's nowhere I would rather be. And there's more tracks at our disposal at ACC. On Tuesday, I actually commentated a race at Snetterton, which was interesting. Snetterton's an awful track now. It used to be so much fun, and now the first two sectors are just a waste of time. Anyway, what do we have coming up in the world of rallying then? We are missing...
Yep, so also we're trying to organize a full-time season with Dirt Rally, but it won't be before our GT3 season with ACC starts. It should be around same time, but we are not announcing it yet.
It was Dane that we needed for that, wasn't it?
Yeah, we need to push Dane. We need to find him.
So if you want more rallying, then tag Royalty in the ISDA chat. R3E is what Otto says.
Yep, I love R3E, and 2 days ago, I had a race on Race Room with RCI community. You can check it on my channel. I drove the Hyundai TCR car, but these guys are pushing Race Room, like pushing themselves to organize a full-time season, but I don't think even they have a sufficient interest to make like a huge league. So as a sim racer, I would say that Race Room is completely underrated. But as a league organizer, I can't say anything about having a full-time league.
And he's the man
as of now.
And the man's wearing a Ferrari shirt, so you know he knows what he's talking about.
I'm led by emotions. I'm not led by rational decisions.
That's the one.
Yeah, that's the Ferrari T-shirt.
So when's the 488 only GT series coming?
I actually tried the Assetto Corsa. Don't know if you tried it. The 488 Evo Challenge.
No.
It's kind of fun to drive. It's like it's got some sort of GT4 aero, but it's still snappy as a GT3. So
that sounds terrifying.
It's fun to drive. If I could compare it to a GT4 car, it would be something like a Ginetta, maybe.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a lot of fun. But yeah, sadly we don't have this for ACC.
Mr. Minton has put a very good idea in YouTube channel.
Yeah, TCR is what I raced 2 days ago, and I love TCR. I love front wheel drive, especially since I have a representation of a sports version of my real life car. I love it, but yeah, it turns out a lot of people don't. It's the same as GT4s in ACC. I love it, you Ike love it, and people don't know they love it until they try it.
Yeah.
But they won't try it because it's like it's slow. Come on, who drives GT4s?
GT4s are so much fun. All it means, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, but then we come to TCR, and I tell you, yeah, TCRs are front-wheel drive cars, and you say front-wheel drive. You seriously want me to race in front-wheel drive? Yes, please.
Yes.
Just
Yeah.
it's loads of fun.
Give it a shot. Clio Cup cars. They're front-wheel drive.
Especially when you start spinning, and then you actually have to smash the throttle to straighten the car. That's the best feeling.
It's the best feeling. Yeah. 100%. There's a moment that I will never forget between someone and Jason Plato, where going around Paddock Hill Bend, and funnily enough, we've been to Brands Hatch recently. Paddock Hill Bend basically got punted, like fully 92, like perpendicular to the direction of the road, and you saw him put full lock on and floor the throttle and got the car back straight before they got to the dip. It's one of those moments. But yeah, front-wheel drive cars are awesome. GT4 cars are awesome. If you're entered in the 8 hours of ISDA, I have already put in the endurance chat, I have £5 waiting for any team who switches to GT4. And what was the other thing I said? I have £5 for anyone who takes the KTM.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I said.
KTM is so fun to drive.
Yeah.
Well, people usually don't realize that they can have much more fun with some slower classes than driving some really high classes. I understand something like Formula One, but a lot of those drivers don't understand they're not capable of driving that car to the limits and battling their friends and having fun at the same time. So you're just getting stressed out. Even GT3s are quite fast, quite technical, and hard to manage. So they're just the separation between cars. While if you're driving something slower, if nothing else, the aero effect will pull you along with a group of your friends, and then you have a battle of 5-6 cars at once. So I'm always for a bit slower cars, just for the fun of it.
Yeah, and because especially with this particular race, the way that this is being done, the likelihood is that the GT4 cars are going to be in a streaming train until the end of the race. It's just 8 hours of non-stop. Because the cars are slower, you can drive closer together. And because they still have as much mechanical grip as the GT3 cars, you can still take the corners quickly. So you can be on someone's bumper for 5 or 6 laps, and you don't have the aero wash, you don't have the understeer, you don't have the instability that you get from the GT3 and higher cars. And yeah, you still get to have. It's so much fun.
You also do have more time to react to the car in front of you, and also it allows you to have more risk with the other cars, because even a slight touch won't ruin your aero or do some major damage, so it completely kills your grip. So it allows a little bit of pushing, a little bit of more tight racing, let's say.
Yeah. There is only support coming in for the GT4s at the moment. Kiki said how many... there are currently 2 GT4 cars registered. And so, was it 15 GT3s? Or has it gone up?
16, I think.
Yeah. So, yeah. If you aren't registered for the 8 hours in GT4, please, I beg you, we need to get that number to at least 10. Because I want to run my 570S. That's the only reason I want to do it. It's a very selfish reason, but it's a reason nonetheless. And if you are currently registered in a GT3, please, I'm begging you, at least give GT4 a shot. And it's not just as well. You've heard us singing the class's praises. It's not just it's slower. That's not the end of the story. You've got rear engine, mid engine, front engine. You've got front engine with a rear gearbox. You've got mid engined, longitudinally mounted and perpendicular. horizontally mounted, sideways to the car. There's all of the cars handle so differently and they're so unique. You will find something that you like, and then there will be someone else who wants to take whatever position you're in away from you. And because it's an 8-hour race, 4 hours or 2-hour stints break up reasonably nicely with the GT4 cars, and 2 hours is between two drivers is absolutely doable. I think that's fair. Go and get registered, please.
And if you don't have a teammate, you can find one in general endurance chat here at our Discord.
Yep.
So that's how Ondřej and I grabbed Zach. Sorry.
Yeah, you cheeky.
Yeah. Now we're going to win.
We were going to drive.
No.
What did you say?
He was going to join us.
Really?
Yeah.
But we snatched him.
You snatched him. You beat us to him.
Well, he knows that we are, stewarding stuff, and when he comes to next race, if he doesn't race with us, there is this command / ballast 100 kilos to his car, and then give him a drive-through on top of that.
So rude. So then he does a Hamilton and wins the race anyway.
Let's leave it there. Let's not get into it. I don't want to spark any controversy.
I nearly got you.
I'm not wearing the correct T-shirt to debate on that.
No, and I'm not drinking the right drink to be talking about that.
Actually, we nearly got the win.
Hmm?
Actually, Ferrari nearly won at Silverstone because of it.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, I'm being sent pictures of a cat sleeping, and it's very cute. Right. Actually, I could probably copy image link. There we go. Where are you?
But all the GT3 cars can always get some 500 kilos of ballast, so we are all in GT4 class for the 8 hours.
And no 6th gear.
And no 6th gear.
Oh, that's such a terrible idea. Please do it. There you go. There is a kitty. He's very cute. I have no.
He looks tired.
Yeah, I have no easy way of showing stream that, so you'll have to take everyone's word for it that it's a very cute kitty. Is there anything else?
Well, I think we went overboard with you. So I have nothing to add, but once again, invite you all to come to 8 Hour of Monza and keep an eye out on our Discord for the upcoming GT3 season.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah, people, come race with ISDA members, and trust me, public racing will not be for you anymore.
No.
It's completely different experience, and driving with other leagues and other public races, it's not the same. Not the same. Great guys, great fun, great marshalling, and we have a great commentators, so you can show your family and you can finish all your races instead of getting punted by some random guy on the beginning.
And if you want any race that you're going to want to watch at all, I can only recommend the season 2 round at Spa, where it all got a little bit much at the end of the race, and yeah. If you want to know just how good this community is, that race is it's about as good as it gets. Yeah, but absolutely, come and join us either on the Discord or in the YouTube chat. In races, it would be awesome to speak to any of you that are in chat at the moment. ISDA is among one of the best communities that I have ever been a part of, both for support and for fantastic, brilliant, integrity-full, gentlemanly racing. Yeah, you think you guys have problems with English? I'm even worse. Yeah, I can heartily recommend joining up with ISDA. Links to do all of that are in the description box. I have made sure of that before we went live. So, with not a lot more to add, thank you very much for watching. I think it's fair to say we've almost reached an hour and a half. One day we will actually get it done in an hour. But
it will be a day when Ondřej leaves Sun.
Yeah.
When he comes back to Earth.
Yes. Ondřej, come back to us. He's going to turn the light off now and it's going to be in darkness, isn't it? Ladies and gentlemen, it's been awesome to be part of this once again. ISDA, I'll say, one of the best organisations around, headed up by Artur, who wasn't able to be with us tonight, unfortunately, and Slobodan, who is alongside me. Thank you also to Nikola and Ondřej for joining us tonight.
Good night.
I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like the video if you liked it, because it helps get ISDA out there as well. More exposure means more people watching. More people watching means more people signing up. More people watching signing up means more drivers for Dan Minton to beat. Because he has a thing with coming third. I hope you all have a lovely evening. It's been wonderful as always, and we will see you next time. Very good evening to everybody.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.